finally ready to share my story of how I got here and how I overcame this darkness.
I grew up in Malta, Illinois. It's a small farming village, population 800 in northern Illinois. I had 78 kids in my high school. We had never had a Division I athlete in the history of the school. But it was my dream to play college basketball. It was my dream to play professional basketball. My entire identity was tied to the sport. I left my town of Malta, Illinois, and went to Tempe, Arizona in a pursuit of chasing down my dreams of becoming a professional basketball player. After a successful freshman year, in most people's eyes, I was still hungry. I wasn't satisfied. I was ready to take that next step. And going into my sophomore year, I was poised for a breakout year. I had been training, I had been working, and I'd been playing better than I had ever played in my entire life. And then all of a sudden, my whole world and my dreams came crashing down, and it was almost taken away from me.
September 20th, 2000, Justin Allen's life changed. That was the day he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, a potentially fatal form of cancer that attacks the lymph system.
When they first told me that, when they say the C word and stuff, you kind of step back a little bit and you're like, wow, you hear about it, you never think something like that will happen to you.
And I just remember this kind of moment of fear and panic. I almost saw flashes of my future as an athlete just kind of going away. And all of my dreams almost felt like they were crashing down. So I'd go to class, I'd have chemo, I'd go to class, I'd have chemo, radiation, I'd come to practice. And no matter how sick I was, I just tried to smile. I tried to be, if coaches asked me how I was doing, I'd always say I feel great. Even if I felt awful around my friends, I'd always just try to smile, even though I felt just pain inside. And I just really held a lot of it in.
Justin Allen for three.
A three-point goal by Allen.
Volleyball right to Allen.
From the corner.
So came back, I played another 3 years at Arizona State. Throughout that process, I started winning all these awards. I won the Jimmy V Courage Award, the Gene Autry Courage Award, the NCAS Giant Steps Award, the Sparky Golden Heart Award. My grades went from a 1.9. I actually graduated with a 3.5, was three-time all Pac-10 academic. So I started winning all these awards with basketball, but still my basketball career on the court never really took off. I never really played more than 10 minutes a game. I would come in, hit 1-3, usually a game, average about 3 points a game for my entire career. So at that point, I remember sitting in my senior year, I graduated, but the only thing that kept creeping in was I didn't make the NBA, and that was my goal, and that I failed, and I had this whole idea of this fear of failure, that I didn't make it, and I let people down, and I let my hometown down, let my parents down. I was supposed to buy them a car and houses, and I had all these big dreams, and it felt like it was just completely over. I still had this itch to play, but I gained weight. I was 265 pounds. I hadn't played in over a year. My teammate Jason Braxton came up and said, hey, there's this Pro-Am in Vegas, you should come play. And I ended up averaging 18 points a game in that tournament. I shot over 50% from the NBA three-point line, and within 15 minutes of my last game, I had a bunch of agents surrounding me, asking me if I was playing, where I was playing, what I was going to do. And that's when I realized that I had this next level, that I was actually going to get to play professional basketball.
I went on to play professional basketball for several years internationally. I played in places like Venezuela and Argentina, Australia, Korea, Kuwait, Japan. I traveled the world playing ball. And while I went on to play professionally and realize a dream for many, I could not fight this feeling of being a failure. It would not leave me.
So I finished my playing career internationally, and when I got back to the United States, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. My identity was so tied to being an athlete that when my career ended, my depression just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Really came to a head when my fiance and I broke up. And a couple months later, I found out that I had cancer for the second time. There was this big mass that was sitting there really next to my thyroid, my lymph node. And I went into the doctor's appointment, and sure enough, found out I had thyroid cancer. And I had a moment where I just drank an entire bottle of vodka, was taking the painkillers that I had from my cancer, and I put the bag over my head, turned on the helium, and I got about 7 seconds in, and I was getting lightheaded and fuzzy, and I don't even know why, but I pulled the mask off of my head. And I remember in that moment, I was actually pissed off at myself because I was like, you're such a failure, like you can't even kill yourself. Like you don't even have the balls to kill yourself. And it was in that moment though that I realized, like, if I don't do something different, like I'm gonna get the same result. I'm gonna be sitting in the same place, depressed, hating my life, not knowing where I am, who I am, where I'm gonna go. And that's at that moment when I decided that I had to do something. I had to get up and move. I had to go somewhere.
After a 3-month trip around the US where I met amazing people, I had a perspective shift, spiritual shift, a life change. When I came back, I realized that this was my home. Basketball was the thing that carried me. Basketball was one of the things that made me who I was, and I need to appreciate it and love it and use my story. This journey taught me to value love over fear, that I have the power to shift my perspective, have faith in something more powerful than ourselves. Basketball was not who I was, but was only a vessel to carry me along this journey in life. I just feel blessed for the opportunity to be able to continue my journey, that I was able to pull that mask off. Because this is just the beginning. I have so much to do, so many places to go, so many people to impact. And I'm ready to live the rest of this journey fully, with passion, with love, and with hope.